Welcome to FRCmedia News for Thursday, December 29th, 2016. I'm Keith Tebow. We hope you had a joyous Christmas holiday and are looking forward to what lies ahead in 2017. We're going to stray a bit from our normal format and dedicate this program to looking back at some of the news stories that impacted Fall River in 2016. Now, leading 2016 was the bevy of new faces within the leadership of city government. First and foremost was the inauguration in January of Jaziel Correa as the city's third mayor in the span of 13 months. As you may recall, Mayor Correa replaced Sam Sutter, who held the position following the mayoral recall of December 2014. There were also plenty of new faces within the City Council and School Committee in 2016. In the Council chamber, newcomers Richard Cabaceres, Pam La Liberty LeBeau, and Cliff Ponte were joined by former school committee man Sean Kadim and returning councilor Stephen Camara. Kadim was named council president, with incumbent councilor Linda Pereira selected as vice president. On the school committee side, incumbents Joseph Martins, Gabe Andrade, Mark Costa, and Melissa Panchley were joined by newcomers Paul Coogan and Ed Coster. Now, along with Mayor Correa, who also serves on that committee as the school committee chair. The changes in city leadership were not restricted, however, to those at the ballot box. Early in the year, Fall River School Superintendent Meg Mayo Brown announced her intention to leave Fall River effective July 1st for a similar position in Barnstable. After a thorough search last spring, former Massachusetts Secretary of Education Dr. Matthew Malone was hired as the new superintendent with an annual salary of approximately $180,000. Fall River also saw leadership changes within its police and fire departments. In October, Police Chief Dan Racine was forced to retire due to health concerns, and in November, John Lynch became Fall River's fire chief following the retirement in June of Chief Robert Viveros. Now, soon after he was inaugurated, Mayor Correa made news with his decision to reorganize the city's Department of Community Maintenance. Under the plan, the mayor created 2 director positions. Then DCM Director Ken Pacheco would take a slight pay cut to become the Director of Buildings and Grounds, while a search began for a new Director of Maintenance. Now, in the spring, Mayor Correa got into some hot water for hiring Maynard Public Works Director Christopher Okafor. That offer to Mr. Okafor was withdrawn after he misled officials about his salary while he was employed in Maynard. Finally, in July, Adriano Ponciano was selected as the city's Director of Community Maintenance. And in a related note, Ken Pacheco moved from the city side and is now the Chief Operating Officer of the Fall River School Department. Mayor Correa introduced new employees to his office in 2016. He chose to retain City Administrator Kathy Ann Viveros and Corporation Counsel Joe Macy, and began the year by naming Chris Perino as his Chief of Staff. Mr. Perino resigned during the spring and was replaced by former Fall River Police Sergeant Michael Hoare. And away from City Hall, Bristol Community College President John Sprague announced that he would be retiring in August of 2017 after serving the college as its 3rd president for 17 years. Just 2 weeks ago, the BCC Board of Trustees recommended that Dr. Laura Douglas, Provo at Des Moines Area Community College, would be hired as BCC's 4th president. So as you can see, there were many new faces and new places in 2016. How that will translate to what happens in 2017 is yet to be determined. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk with Herald News Digital City Editor Will Richmond on these and other news events of 2016. Stay tuned.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot job list from the Fall River Career Center. Real estate photographer. Planomatic, a digital real estate marketing company, is seeking a real estate photographer to visit assigned real estate properties, take dynamic photographs using a DSLR camera, and create digital floor plans. Job number 829-6317. Hospice medical social worker. Amedisys Incorporated, located at 182 North Main Street, is looking for a hospice medical social worker to offer service support to patients and families one-on-one in their home environment. job number 831-3235. Bank teller, Santander Bank, located at 141 North Main Street, is seeking a full-time, experienced bank teller. Basic computer knowledge and Windows skills required, as well as cash handling and customer service skills. Job number 830-1859. Boston Market is looking to fulfill the following positions. Restaurant cook assistant, job number 831-0379. Delivery driver, job number 831-0308. Assistant general manager, job number 831-0281. Restaurant server, job number 831-0299. Restaurant dishwasher, job number 831-0312. General manager, job number 831-0358. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCmedianews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Let's continue our look back at the news events in Fall River for 2016 by bringing in Will Richmond, digital news editor for the Herald News. Will, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. How you doing?
Good. Hope you had a great Christmas.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's always a good time of the year. But at this time of the year, we also like to look back and also look ahead at what's going to be happening news-wise here in the city of Fall River. As we just mentioned in our show, Will, we talked a lot about the changes, new faces and new places here in the city of Fall River. Mayor, school committee members, city councilors, new fire chief, new police chief, new school superintendent, almost a clean slate, if you will, of the leadership of city government. How have you guys at the Herald News dealt with this this year in terms of, let's start off with, covering a brand new mayor. How's that been?
Yeah, well, certainly, with any change in leadership, there's differences in how it's covered, and there's, as we're all aware, there's been a lot of those changes lately. So, there's always that feeling out period with a new mayor, how they want to be contacted, how they, the kind of stories they're looking to comment on, and those kinds of things. So, I think with all leaders, we've had our ups and downs in terms of coverage aspects, and there's things they want us to cover, things they don't want us to cover. Times they talk to us, and times they don't. I think with Mayor Correa, we've had a fairly good relationship. At times it's been a little harder to get a hold of him than others, but it can go through like that with any mayor at any time. So nothing too much out of the ordinary, and whether a mayor will talk to us or not doesn't preclude us from doing a story. So
Right.
we move on either way, with or without cooperation.
When you look at the number of changes in city government, as we mentioned, 5 new city councilors, even if you count Sean Kadim and returning councilor Steve Camara, 2 new faces on the school committee, and then, as we mentioned, a new police chief, a new fire chief, a new superintendent of schools. There's a lot of change there, but the good thing, if there is a good thing, and I'd like your comment on this, it seems like the wheels of government have still been churning very efficiently in all those departments: school department, police department, fire department, and city hall.
Yeah, I think when you look at a lot of those changes, even though it seems like there's been a lot, there has still been a good amount of continuity within the changes. You mentioned the new school committee members. Both Paul Coogan and Ed Kostar had pretty extensive experience within the school system.
Right.
So they bring that sort of institutional knowledge with them, even if they haven't been in an elected position before. You mentioned, while there have been a lot of new city councilors, some of them do have experience in city government previously. Even in the case of, say, Pam LeBeau, she's very familiar in the city through her neighborhood efforts. So those, while there are new faces in government, they may not necessarily be new faces to how things work in Fall River. And then if you take a look at those sort of high-level administrative type of jobs, there's sort of been a succession plan there, with the exception of the superintendent's role. But the fire chief was replaced by a deputy chief. In the police department, that was more of an unexpected retirement by Chief Racine. but Deputy Chief Dupaire's now stepped in, and he's been filling in that role as Racine has battled health problems over the years anyways. So he's very familiar with the department, very familiar with the dynamics of Fall River, very familiar with the people both in and outside of the police department.
Right.
So, while there's a lot of changes, I think there's a lot of institutional knowledge that has been kind of steady throughout all the change.
All right, I want to talk about the economy now in the city of Fall River. This was a big year in terms of jobs in Fall River. As we reported last week, the unemployment rate in Fall River dropped to its lowest point in 16 years at 4.1%. We also saw the opening of the Amazon facility in the industrial park area, and also, news items such as moving forward with the old Harbor Mall and the South Coast Marketplace. It looks like the economy in Fall River, even though some people may say differently, it did appear that 2016 had things moving in a better direction.
Yeah, it certainly seems. I think the Amazon opening is a big chunk of hires. As of what they're reporting currently, there's about, I believe, 1,800 people employed up there. About 800 of those may be seasonal, so
Right.
it may settle back to that 1,000 number. But that was the projected number when, as this process moved forward. So they've hired to capacity. Even the Stop and Shop distribution center just over the line in Freetown recently hired, I believe, 200 people. So that helps the economy as well. There are a lot of opportunities that have seemed to have merged in 2016. You mentioned the mall, the redevelopment of the New Harbor Mall. That has already started with some construction jobs potentially, and we'll certainly move on to the full retail type of opportunities in 2017 as that development kind of moves into the actual store and retail phase. So the opportunities are there. Things are looking up. It looks like things are moving in the right direction for job seekers. So that's certainly good news considering where the city has been in the last, decade and a half.
Let's continue with construction, and this is construction that has been completed to the delight of many of us, especially those who have to travel the Braga Bridge back and forth each day. The bridge project finished in 2016, and also the spaghetti ramps project, which led people from Route 79 onto and off of our Interstate 195, also completed. That was a high watermark for the year in terms of that project. And it also, I guess in some respects, will give people an insight into what may happen in terms of the next phase, that is making Route 79 area more of a boulevard. So it was good to see that be completed. And what were you hearing from some of the people that you spoke to about this project?
Yeah, well, certainly people are, you mentioned the Braga Bridge. I think on the days when the 3 lanes opened on the eastbound side, that happened pretty quietly. There wasn't a huge announcement about it or anything, but from a social media aspect, there was quite a bit of almost disbelief that this had finally happened. And then once all 6 lanes were open, with both sides of the bridge fully open, it kind of felt like an aha type of moment here. It's been a long time since these 6 lanes have been open substantially for an extended period. I think Mass DOT said 2001.
Wow.
There was a slight reprieve, I believe, in 2012, early 2013, that may have lasted about 6 months during a break in construction. So I think that was very welcome. I think people who traveled Duval Street in that area were very happy to see that work come to the substantially complete phase. It certainly runs a lot smoother down there in that area. It looks much nicer for people who drive, are down in that area as well. So I think it has made things a lot smoother. The detours are gone. The orange signs are disappearing. I even noticed on 195 in the Swansea, Somerset area that the construction commuter time sign had been taken down in the last 2 weeks or so. So, for a moment that many people felt would never come, there's a bit of relief to see this finally done.
Right, especially with the winter. Hopefully not a bad winter. It always helps when that bridge is full. But, as you said, there was some trepidation on the part of people when the Braga Bridge, all the lanes opened up. I remember hearing a story not too long ago when it comes to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. There's people who paint the bridge, and no sooner are they finished with painting the bridge, you actually have to start all over. And hopefully that's not going to be the case here with the Braga in Fall River. One of the final topics I want to bring up, and it's something that it was inevitably will be brought up this year again, is the issue of trash. Mayor Correa came into office in January saying that he would repeal the $10 per month trash disposal fee, which he did do in this year's budget. He also privatized the trash service this year, and but the purple bags continue. And I guess trash is going to be an issue here in Fall River for some time, but at least it seems to have stabilized somewhat in terms of what people have to deal with in 2016.
Yeah, we'll certainly see where that heads. You know, the compliance efforts have been stepped up a little bit here in the fourth quarter of the year, so that is hopefully a sign of stringent enforcement and compliance on the user end. That's certainly something we'll have to see now, is, you know, those initial citations and those type of items go out and are paid or taken to housing court and that kind of matter. But yeah, trash is the issue that doesn't seem to want to die this year. I think we probably won't start to get a better feel for how well Mayor Correa's efforts have turned out until the budget starts being developed for the next fiscal year, as we'll start to see what revenues look like. You know, the projections for purple bag revenues have been down for much of the year. There needs to be that offset of the what the $10 fee was bringing in revenue for the city, and the enterprise fund that was subsidizing trash pickup. So, you know, I don't think we're going to start to really see the fruits of what 2016 may have brought on the trash end until we really start putting the budget together for the next fiscal year.
All right, and one final news item for 2016, which has actually dominated the country's news, is of course the election of our new president. And the reason why we really haven't focused on it here is the fact that even though all 50 states will be getting a new president on January 20th, the election results here really were a fait accompli, with Hillary Clinton winning not only Fall River, but also the state of Massachusetts and many other states on the East Coast. And there really wasn't much to speak about in terms of local state elections, as all our state representative delegation were running unopposed. So we didn't forget about the presidential election. It's just that here in Fall River, it wasn't a very big local issue in 2016. All right, Will, let's put on your thinking cap and your crystal ball. Take it out. What do you think we can look forward to for 2017?
Well, you know, I think for 2017, we'll have to kind of see where the election goes locally. I think that's going to be one of the big ones. You know, I think there's still, in a challenger aspect here, the sense of no incumbent is safe. You know, Mayor Correa hasn't had any major missteps like some of his predecessors may have had, but I think there's a never-ending sense in Fall River that there's always blood in the water. So I would expect there to be some high-profile names that will at least seriously consider running for mayor, if not actually, you know, putting their names into the pool to run here. I think, you know, if that's the case, it usually means a shakeup on the city council as well, because you tend to see a couple of those names emerge for the mayor's race. So as sleepy as you noted the local elections were in 2016 at the state level, I think we could see another heated election season on the city level in 2017.
Sounds good, Will. Will, I want to wish you a happy new year, and thanks for joining us. We'll talk again next week in January.
All right, sounds good, and happy new year to you and the crew over there, Keith.
Thank you. We'll have more FRC Media news right after this.
This is Winston Churchill. He's been here since Veterans Day of this year. He's 2 years old, male domestic short hair cat, and he's just a really sweet boy. He was found outside of an apartment building, abandoned, thrown out. He had a little bit of blood on his face. I don't know if he came from an abusive situation, but he's a really, really sweet cat and affectionate, and he just deserves a really good home. So if you'd like to come see him, we're open every day except for Wednesday, 11 to 4 at 300 Linwood Ave, Fall River, at Forever Paws.
So this is Gibbs. He's about 1.5, going on 2. He's a Brazilian Fila and pit mix, so he's got a lot of energy. Very playful guy. As you can tell, he really seems to love his toys. And he's been here for a little while now. I think people are a little intimidated by him in the cage because he really wants to play. So when people come through, he barks and he jumps up. But he's really a nice guy. And once you get him home too, he'll kind of mellow out a little bit. He'll still retain plenty of his play pose. So if you want to come down and meet him, we would absolutely love to have you do so. And we're located at 300 Linwood Street here in Fall River, Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
Welcome back. Here's FRC Media News editor Donna Mata with more as we continue to look back at 2016.
The first meeting of the Fall River Charter Commission met in January when its mission statement was formalized. In a nutshell, the Charter Commission was established to update the city's antiquated 80-year-old city charter that dictates how city government is run. Also that month, Chairman Mike Maioza said that a two-sided 12-question survey was sent to city residents in order to gain their input on what changes, if any, should be made. He stressed that the purpose of acquiring citizen input throughout this process was to ensure the charter question that will be put before voters next year is not turned down due to lack of knowledge. The results of the survey were released in early spring, and the process continues to move forward. As had been promised, the commission met on a regular monthly basis and received sufficient public input. Briefly, in state news, voters around Massachusetts agreed to pass question number 4 on the ballot. The vote means marijuana is now legal for recreational use. According to the city's Substance Abuse Grants Coordinator, Mike Aguiar, the yes vote impacts Fall River negatively. Aguiar's concern is that the rules and regulations regarding sales, and both the buying and the selling, have not yet been established, complicating the selling and buying process. Worse, he feels more young people in Fall River will use marijuana and then perhaps move on to so-called harder illegal drugs. The end result, he predicts, is that more people will need to be treated for addiction problems. In other state news, Governor Charlie Baker signed legislation to disperse $200 million in Chapter 90 funding to all 351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth. The money is expected to be used for road-related construction projects. Fall River's share of the pie is $1.9 million. More recently, the governor also awarded almost $1 million in grant monies for Fall River's Public Safety Department staff. This is the 6th year the money has been awarded to Fall River and again used for staffing purposes. The funding totals about $9,500,000 for police and approximately $500,000 to the fire department. That's it for this segment. We do, however, want to remind our viewers that they can review any story that came up in 2016 by accessing the archives on our website, FRCmedianews.org.
Thank you, Donna. I would be remiss not to mention the news we made here at FRC Media in 2016. In October, FRC Media was recognized by the Northeast region of the Alliance for Community Media as the winner of its Overall Excellence Award for the service we provide to our community. It's an honor to be recognized by our peers. And last, but definitely not least, we launched this program in 2016. Our FRC Media News operation began as website only in September of 2015, and we incorporated our weekly television newscast in January of this year. It's a privilege for us to do our part in providing you with news and information that impacts our community. We're always looking for story ideas and volunteers who'd like to serve as correspondents in making Fall River a better informed community. As always, you can find out more at frcmedianews.org. That's it for our year-end look at 2016. I'd like to thank our FRC Media staff who's worked tirelessly in producing a weekly newscast that we're proud of. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'd like to wish you all a happy, healthy, and productive 2017. We'll see you next week.